Greetings, detectives. Mrs. McKay here, and we are working on Case 8, which is all about data analysis. The title of the case is Data, Data Everywhere, and this is the very first clue. So let's go ahead and get started by writing our learning target. I can create a frequency table, a line plot, it's also sometimes called a dot plot, a histogram, and that should be and a cumulative, frequency table to represent data. Little and right here. I can create a frequency table, a line plot, a histogram, and a cumulative frequency table to represent data. Now let's start by first making sure we know what data is. Data is information. It's usually a list of information, a list of numbers, a list of some kind of information that's related to each other. So let's get started by looking at some data in my sidebar here. That's right here, information. So this is a list of cereal. A parent wanted to buy cereal. She wanted to find cereal that had the least amount of sugar in it. So she's wanting to reduce the sugar content of her child's cereal. So she went to the store and she made a list of all the different types of cereal and all of the different amounts of sugar in each one. So you can see them all. There's Cocoa Rounds, Flakes of Corn, Frosty Flakes, Grape Nuts, Golden Nuggets, Honey Nut Squares, etc., etc. And they range from, it looks like, the smallest amount, can you find it? The smallest amount of sugar is shredded Wheatley's, and the largest amount of sugar is what? Looks like it's Puffs. So we know that we have a range of 1 to 22 grams of sugar per serving, all right? And we're going to record all of this information on the first type of representation, which is a dot plot or a line plot. So that's what this first thing is right here. Now, all we're going to do with that is we're going to take this line and we're going to start with our range, which is 1, and we're just going to count 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We're going to go to 22. And I'm going to label each one of these, but I'm going to pause it. So you should pause too and label each part of your dot plot. And then we'll get started with the next part of it. We add a few more lines because I don't know how to count, and I didn't count right to 22. So now the next thing we're going to do is for each one of these amounts, each one of the amounts of sugar, we're going to put a little X or a dot above that number on the number line. So I'm going to say Cocoa Rounds is 13, so I'm going to find 13, and I'm going to put a little X above it like that. All right? And then the next one is Flakes of Corn, so that's 4, so I'll put a little X over 4. And Frosty Flakes is 11, you get the idea. Grape Nuts is 7. Golden Nuggets is 10. Honey Nut Squares is 10, so I'm going to put an X right above it. And you go ahead and finish this up. Make sure you get them all. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 different types of cereal. So that means when you're done, you should have 20 little dots or 20 X's. So go ahead and pause it and fill in this line plot by putting X's over the numbers for each instance of a cereal that has that amount of sugar, all right? Hopefully your line plot looks something like this. Now what I just did was I just went through through the list and I put an X over each instance that amount showed up. And what I ended up with was one cereal. I can see this very quickly. I can tell how many cereals have 1 gram of sugar, how many cereals have 22 grams of sugar, and how many grams of cereal have how many grams of cereal have 7, and how many grams have 17, or how many cereals have 17 grams. So which cereal has which amount of, what am I trying to ask you? Which one is the most common? So of our cereals, the most common amount of sugar is what? I think I'm asking that right. So that's right. So 7 grams of sugar is the most common amount of sugar. So most of our cereals, well, not most, but the largest amount of cereals that have the same is 7. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and do a frequency table. And a frequency table starts taking this information from this line plot and putting it into a table that isn't this long list like this. Instead, it is it's gonna group them according to sort of intervals. So the first thing we want to do is we want to take our line plot, because it's showing each individual situation, and we want to divide it into groupings so that we don't have this long list. Instead, we have a shorter list. So I'm going to say from 1 to 5 grams of sugar are going to be counted. So I'm going to see how many boxes of cereal have 1 to 5 grams of sugar. Then I'm going to do the next interval, which is going to be 6 to 10. So I decided to go ahead and make my intervals be by 5. Just seemed to work out better. And then 11 to 15, 16 to 20, and 21, we'll say to 25, even though we don't go all the way up to 25. All right? So now my frequency is how often does cereal occur in that amount of sugar in a serving. So from 1 to 5, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my frequency is 7, okay? And then from 6 to 10, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And from 11 to 15, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And from 16 to 20, it's 0. And from 21 to 25, it's 1. All right? So that's a frequency table, and it's just helping me. And a frequency table will help me to then display this in a different way using a histogram. But before I do that, I want to go ahead and talk a little bit about a cumulative frequency table. Sometimes a frequency table has another column called the cumulative frequency, and what we start doing is we start adding things up. So from 1 to 5, it's still 7. But when I get to my 6 to 10 row, I'm not only going to count how many times the frequency is for 6 to 10, I'm going to add up what it was the previous as well. So I'm really adding from 1 to 10. So the cumulative from 1 to 10 is what it was in 7, or in the first one was 7, and the next one is 8. So the cumulative is 15. And then for my next row, my cumulative is going to be from 1 to 15. So 11 to 15 is only 4, but 1 to 15 is going to be my total, which was 15 here, plus 4 more is 19. So do you see how I'm just taking the one before it and adding the next? I could also add them up this way. 7 plus 8 is 15, plus 4 is 19. Okay? And then from 16 to 20, because I didn't add any more frequencies, it's still the same. 1 to 20 is still 19. And then 21 to 25 is just one more, so the entire should be 20 frequencies, which is how many boxes of cereal we looked at. So that's a cumulative frequency table. Now, we're going to take this information from our frequency table, and we're going to create a histogram. So a histogram is just a visual bar graph that's going vertical. And I'm going to use the exact same frequencies that I have there. And these frequencies that are listed on the frequency table are going to be bars of intervals. So I'm going to do the same thing. I have 1 to 5 is going to be my first interval, and what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to take this and I'm going to mark 1 to 5. It's going to go here and it's going to start right there. I'm going to just make these bars big enough that they look good. Actually, I can make it go here, I think. To make them be nice wide bars. Maybe not. I lied. I do have to make them be 3 across. And that's just giving it a nice thickness, okay? Alright, so because I have five intervals, I want to have, see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yep, I want to have 5 bars to represent each interval. And then, so that's going to be 1 to 5, this is going to be 6 to 10, this will be 11 to 15, this will be 16 to 20, and this will be 21 to 25. And then I'm just going to count up this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'll say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's 10. All right, so now that I have my graph set up, I have to create my actual bars. So my first frequency for 1 to 5 is going to be 7. So I'm going to take, I think I'll use a different color. I'm going to start at 7 right here. And that's my first bar. And then from 6 to 10, it's 8. And I could use a different color if I wanted. Or they can be the same color, it doesn't matter. So from 6 to 10, it's 8. And then from 11 to 15, it's 4. Nice colorful histogram here. And from 16 to 20, it's 0, so I don't have to put anything there. And from 21 to 25, it's 1. Okay? And that's a histogram. And I can look at the histogram and I can see immediately how many in each interval. And we call these intervals bins. Now, the one thing that I didn't talk about is I didn't say that I didn't tell you that we need to label our tables, and we do. We always need to label our tables so that we know what each thing represents. So this is going to be amount in grams of sugar, right? And this is frequency of boxes or cereal, okay? And then we could give it a title that says an overall title, amount of sugar in cereal. Something like that, all right? So this was a real quick one just to help you understand how to represent data using these 4 different types of data analysis representation. So we've got a line plot, a frequency table, a cumulative frequency table, and a histogram. Please take some time to write yourself a key idea right here. We need to think about what's one thing that's important for you to remember. Don't tell me this is about this. Tell me something that's important to remember. All right? And I'll see you in class.